This podcast is proud to be part of the TalkSport Fan Network. TalkSport. Powered by fans.
Hi and welcome to the next edition and penultimate edition of this season of the Away End. I'm Craig Courtney and I'm joined this evening by Cozy from the Huddersfield Town podcast, and he takes the chance. So thank you very much for joining and talking us through the upcoming game and a few other areas. Tell us a bit about your podcast and how long you've been going.
Yeah, Craig, we've been going since, let me get this right here, 2018. So we came in on the second season of the Premier League. So we can be blamed pretty much for our declining fortunes, which is probably going to mean the second relegation in 6 years on Saturday. But yeah, we thought we were brilliant. We stayed up in the Premier League against all odds. So let's bring a podcast out. And pretty much it's just been relegation chat for so many seasons after, with just a bizarre season in 22-20, I think 21-22, where we ended up at Wembley, and we were pretty much robbed by John Moss and VAR when we could have. Nottingham Forest got into the Premier League, and it's been a tough one, to be fair, mate, because and obviously you're kind of similar as well. Just it's been a struggle for you so many years. It's difficult, isn't it? Just dragging yourself there with the same relegation battles, the same. You know, you've lost more games than you've won, and you know, I must admit, I'm a positive person, and I find it difficult sometimes to come in and, you know, just to be doom and gloom all the time and that as well. So yeah, it's been this season's been really tough, but yeah, last season wasn't much better until Neil Warnock bailed us out. But yeah, we've been going since the second season of the Premier League, where we ended up on 16 points, which is what Sheffield United got now. So hopefully, I think Derby got lower, didn't they, and that as well. But it's been a grind, mate. But you know what? We're always honest. We always tell it how it is, and people like what we do, so we continue, as I say.
And it's funny because you're right. Over the past 4 or 5 seasons, really, you know, we've been in the same position where more of the doldrums than there is the positives. And again, I honestly cannot believe we're in the situation we are at the moment. I'd never have predicted it at the start of the season. But then I never expected us to be up there fighting for a promotion either. You know, mid-table mediocrity was my thought, and that's where I honestly thought we would end up. And we've made some very strange decisions as the year's gone by, or season, I should say. And now we're paying unfortunately, the downside of it. So we're going into the game on Saturday past 5, really. Got 2 losses, 2 draws. 2 losses, 1 draw, and 2 wins for Birmingham. Actually, the last game we played was a 4-1 win for Birmingham at St Andrews. I think one of only a couple that we've really seen where we've scored, you know, that many goals for a start off. But we go into Saturday as relegation rivals. It's actually quite scary. I mean, it's the permutations when you look at what can happen over the next 2 games are just absolutely ridiculous, and the amount of teams that can still be dragged into this is also unreal. What I do fear is that it's potentially, you know, it's one of us 2 that are going to be in that bottom 3. You know, at the end of the season. I think actually, if results don't go both of our ways, so for example, a draw on Saturday and everybody else wins, I think actually we're both mathematically.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. Even a draw might not be enough, mate. But
so, you know, it's been a tough old season for both clubs. I think you've been through the managerial merry-go-round as we have. However, I think we've set a new record this year: 6 managers. So it's actually quite scary. But we're going in off a very poor result against Rotherham. You know, we didn't look as though we were going to do anything at all. But then equally, I think for yourselves, shipping, was it 3 goals in the sort of like the last 9 or 10 minutes of the game? So it's to your goal difference took a pummeling. That was a saving grace for us just getting that draw. So Saturday's going to be a tough game, and we'll no doubt come on to quite a bit of that shortly. But what I want to do is kind of look back over games that you really remember and games between Birmingham and yourselves that stand out. So can you think of one really?
There's the ultimate, mate, and I still think about it to this day, mate, and it's kind of haunts us that you could put us down again just like you did in 2001. So Mr. Curtis Woodhouse, mate, a guy who I probably won't say it to his face as a boxer, isn't he? But he put us down, mate, in 2000, and he was incredible. He was like I think a 3-team finale. I remember we were 16-1 to go down the last day because we needed to lose. I think there was Crystal Palace, and I can't remember the third team involved. But basically, it needed so much to go against us, and you beat us, mate. And honestly, it haunts me to this day. Your fans were singing "We'll meet again," don't know where, don't know when, and that honestly, mate. And people of a certain age at Huddersfield Birmingham will always have an edge because of that game. And going back before that, probably happier times for both of us because we got promoted in the playoffs that year. But let me get this right. I think you won the division with Barry Fry on our turf in 90. Yeah,
that'd be my. And I was going to say that's my standout game.
Red Hot Day, Steve Claridge playing. I think he might have scored actually. I don't think you beat us, didn't you?
We did. I remember that bit.
Yeah. And them are the two standouts in that as well, because there's a lot of pain in that as well. Can't remember many successful times. I remember one, there hardly anyone there, to be honest, an FA Cup time when we were in the Premier League. It was one of the coldest I've ever been at a ground when we went to St Andrews. It was unbelievable. You probably won't remember it because there hardly anyone there, to be honest with you, when we were under David Wagner. It went to extra time, and honestly, I've never been as happy to be on a neated car seat that season as well. But that was probably, we were trying to think when Wagner was probably about 2020. I thought it'd be probably about 2019 and that as well, FA Cup. After then, they're not really. Actually, there was another game actually when we were in League One, where we're heading now. We beat you when Alex McLeish was the manager. It was a bit of an upset, to be honest, because you were Premier League at that time. Mm-hmm. And we beat you 1-0. I think it was Chris Brandon who scored going back in the day. And it felt. I remember ringing 606 then, Alan Green. You remember him? It's not, bless him. I don't think he does it anymore. But I remember ringing him up, buzzing. They were like, "Oh, she'll beat Birmingham." I watch an upset and all that. But I think it's one of those because, I think you were concentrating on the league, and that's why you put a half a team out and that as well. But them are the games that I can remember pretty much. I came down to St Andrews this year. Lisa, about that, the better for us. You give us an absolute spanking, and obviously that was that horrible game when Bakuna got racially abused by one of your fans. Not a great night all round there and that as well. But that game in 2001 will always sting. And to be honest, I mean, I think we're done now anyway, really. But we were thinking, God, even if we could have, say, put you down on Saturday, which maybe still could happen because Sheffield Wednesday, obviously, they're flying the ointment now, but it would not make up for that 2001, mate, because it was incredible. I'll never forget, as long as I live, mate, there were a pitch invasion, a bit of crowd trouble. I think the crossbar got snapped. No one expected to, for you to do it, but I think Woodhouse got 2 that day, and we crumbled, mate. But, it's...
we have an uncanny knack, really, of going into these final games, and when we're fighting the relegations, he's pulling the results out of the bag. But I mean, to go back on the Barry Fry one, we've actually spoken to Barry on the show, and he remembers that one fondly as well because of the fact that I think remember rightly, we had the full end of one stadium. We were pushing for it. There were probably Birmingham fans all over the other Huddersfield seats as well. And I always remember Barry Fry describing it as being almost like a home ground because there were that many fans in and around the situation. To it.
I think there were loads. I think there were loads as well that didn't have tickets because I remember it proper went off after the game in the town centre because it was Red Hot Day. I think some just stayed and drunk there, maybe listened to it on the radio. So it were proper, Birmingham takeover. But you were celebrating. Luckily, we kind of celebrated a bit further on in the playoffs. But at that time. You know, when someone goes up on your home turf, it's never a good one, and that you don't like to see that. But you did it to us, and Barry were dancing about. Steve Clark. I'm trying to think who else were in that team.
I know. If I remember rightly, I think we might have seen Paul Tate as well in that squad.
Yeah. Michael Johnson playing in them days. I can't remember now. If he,
I don't know whether he would have done, but Liam Davies definitely would have, because he was still one of those players. You know, he'd head a brick wall if it was put in front of him. So
he was a good player. Hard man,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And we're talking there about actually old players.
Yeah.
So challenge time. Not that I'm putting you on the spot or anything here, but basically,
I'll give you a few. So a friend of mine, great guy, Ian Bennett, top goalkeeper. Yeah, really good guy, know him well. We got him at the latter end of his career. You obviously got him as a youth and that as well. But what a goalkeeper he was, mate. Even like when he was for us, you know, obviously keepers it and go on for ages and that as well. Really, really good. And am I right in saying he was that Barry? Were you keeping in that Barry Fry season? He was, wasn't he?
Was indeed, yeah. We've actually had Benno join us again on the show to go through the different things and that. He in fact saw him a few weeks ago as a Q&A session as well, and he was very complimentary of both sides. Yeah,
another guy, mate. He's not liked in Huddersfield shirt, but he was only on loan, to be fair to us. But he's done a really good job for you, and he always seems to turn it on against us. Lucas Jukovic. He was only on loan for us. But I remember he got subbed off a game. It might have been against Chelsea or someone like that. But he threw his shirt on the floor, and that was it. They sent him straight back on loan. I can't remember where we got him from, to be honest with you. But obviously, he's been a bit of a stalwart for you and that as well. And
is
it good?
May or may not get in for the weekend. We honestly don't know. But you're right. He's actually in his last couple of games, in theory, of his contract as well. So we do hope that we see a little bit more of Juki. He's that type of player, as he probably was for yourselves, that you could just pick him in front of goal, put a ball on his head, and 95% of the time, put him away.
Obviously, going to mention him, the great enigma. And it sounds like he's just been doing exactly the same for you as it is for us, Mr. Juninho Bacuna. See the goal of the season, or just don't turn up. It's like there's no in between with him. But yeah, quite a character though. You know, it's. I liked him, but I can imagine if you were in the same team as him, it'd be a frustrating guy to play with as well. He wears gloves like when it's like about 80 degrees, not that you get much in Huddersfield. But yeah, we liked him. Yeah, he played in the Premier League with us, but he played him at a right back. And to be fair, he did well, I thought. And then, like a lot of our players who went down to Championship, you're thinking, right, from the Premier League, you think they should be all right at that level. But he was one of those that stuck around a bit longer than most, to be honest with you, on that as well. And I don't think where he went after he went back to you. He didn't go straight to you from us, did he? Or did he? He might have done. Or did he go abroad somewhere and then come to you? But yeah, how are you finding Bacuna? Because I know he's got a screaming in early this season. I remember seeing that.
It's so true what you just said. He blows so hot and cold, and he can have a phenomenal game. He can have a phenomenal first half of the game and just not turn up in the second.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does blow hot and cold, and at the moment he has been more of a bench player than he has a starter. So again, though, it depends on how we set the team up on Saturday, to how it will work. But he's a fan's favourite. You know, I won't say they'll have anything against him. We obviously have had that horrible incident that you mentioned at St Andrews. He has also, unfortunately, he's had a couple of others as well.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Where it's happened, which hasn't been nice. No. But he's the type of guy that when he scores a goal, you know, they're normally pretty special. Yeah. And again, this season, I think he's in the running for goal of the season. A free kick. So he's. I do like him, and I like his personality, and not just overall the way that he is, because he is just a really nice guy.
Character, yeah. My last one, I'm digging deep, to be honest with you. I know, you know what? I'm pretty sure it's Paul. Do you remember Paul Malden? Did he play for you? He played for us. Yeah, he was pretty average for us. Again, we got a guy at the end of his career on that as well, but I remember him like playing out wide and being frustrated with him quite a bit and that as well. But there must have been some others, but that just Paul Malden I do remember, because I remember him coming and thinking, bags of experience is what we need. And he went,
There's actually quite a few that have crossed past. So you've mentioned obviously Bacuna and Bennett. We've got Conor Mahoney, who
Yeah,
was
of
only
course,
on
yeah.
loan at Birmingham.
Yeah, done not never featured for us.
Reece Brown, one of those
Yeah, bloody hell.
youngsters at Birmingham we thought was going to do wonders,
Yeah.
and it never took off.
Snap. No, never for us.
Another player you may or may not come up against at the weekend, Alex Pritchard.
Oh, but I kind of forget him. Yeah, mate. It's whoosh. Yeah, it'd just be like him to score winning goal, mate. But we've come up against him a couple of times this season actually for Sunderland. But yeah, wow. Is he not fit at the moment, or is he just on bench? What's
He's a bit of both, really. I think he has been very injury prone since he's come, but he's been sitting on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Wow. We'll get a good reception then.
Another player up front, James Vaughan, going back on the days.
Yeah. They were at your place. I didn't know that. Didn't know that. Yeah, good for us.
David Edgar.
Oh, he would have read this. I forgot about him. Whoa. Jesus,
there's quite a few others as well. So
there is.
Adam Clayton, Lee Novak.
Yeah. Lee Novak. I didn't realise he was at yours as well. Yeah, they were good players for us, them too.
Nico Vasson, Peter Unlove actually joined you.
Of course. Yeah, Trevor Francis got arrested, so they won't. That we went down that season. You put us down, and we were scoring goals for fun on loan, and then he called him back, did Francis, and yeah, that we never got his goals, and after that we went down. But yeah, he was brilliant, Peter Unlove, mate. What player?
Chris Holland, Barry Horn, Mark
Barry
Ward.
Horn. I'm ashamed to miss some of these. These are like legends. Some of these Huddersfield, yeah.
You've mentioned Paul Malden. And then really going back in the days here, so I guess before your time, but Dennis Clark joined from Birmingham to yourselves. I don't think you're necessarily one of the bigger names there from that front, but last but no means least is actually my current neighbour, and he played for both clubs, was actually leading goal scorer at Birmingham, and did really, really well as well at Huddersfield, and that's Phil Summerhill.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm a bit embarrassed to miss some of those. Apologies to some of them guys, but yeah, no, it's we're old enough to remember some of these, though, aren't we? Yeah, there are
great names that have really
characters, though. Some of them, characters. They don't seem to be around much now.
No, and this is the thing. A lot of those players that we've mentioned there are what I would class as proper footballers, proper hard knocks. The Barry Hords, the Chris Hollands, the Mark Ward especially. Mark Ward for me is
a tough guy,
what you'd wanted in your midfield. And I tell you what, he is a genuinely nice guy as well. We've spoken to him on the show.
Yeah,
he's actually doing a questions and answer session at Birmingham next week. So
wow.
Should be good.
Yeah.
But also, we haven't just stuck at players, but actually two standout managers who also were standout players, not for our clubs, unfortunately. Well, actually, no, tell them one of them was for Birmingham.
Yeah.
But managerial-wise, we've had both Stevie Bruce managing both clubs, and of course, how can we forget Lee Clark? He was, probably the most passionate guy in regards to the game of football you could ever want to meet. And from a Birmingham perspective, feel sorry for him, because he came in a situation when we were proper rock bottom. He did as much as he possibly could. He kept us up in that truly wonderful game at Bolton that season. 2-0 down. Funnily enough, Djukovic scoring against us that particular day. And then coming back to get the 2-2 draw and stay in the league. But the following season just didn't hit the ground running, so he was off. But we've actually had Lee Clark on the show as well, and I've got to say, what a gent. And it's just a shame things didn't work out for him, because if his managerial class was built purely on passion, he'd have been the best in the league. So, but I mean, what are you? Both of those when they're at your club as well. I think Lee Clark actually did in his time that he was there. So, what are your thoughts on both?
It was a strange one. Steve Bruce, honestly, both guys divide opinion. To be honest, Steve Bruce was just a strange situation. So we got Steve Bruce, we had a kind of new owner came in, and Steve Bruce had a little bit of cash to spend by Huddersfield standards. But the best thing was the football we played, like it was sensational, and he had like Marcus Stewart, again bless him, who's obviously in the news at the moment. Sadly, got motor neuron disease. There's been a lot of like charity work done up here for him and that as well. But we were flying, mate. We were top of the championship the Boxing Day. The stadium was sold out every week. The football, we've never seen anything like it. Steve Bruce was leading all this, and then it was an incredible moment, like in the transfer. I don't think we transfer January transfer window. Then it think it was just March back in them days. But we sold Steve Bruce to Ipswich. Incredible. The board. To this day, people still think Steve Bruce sold Marcus Stewart to Ipswich. I just don't know why someone who, like with his knowledge and when we were absolutely flying would like sell to your arch rival, because Ipswich were battling for us to get up. The rest is in history, mate. Ipswich got promoted that season. Huddersfield missed out on the last day in the playoffs, and Steve Bruce kind of stayed for a little bit next season and then was sacked. But I have good memories of Steve Bruce, but it's incredible. Some of us thinking, why is Steve Bruce sold? And he gets some stick, but Steve Bruce didn't sell Marcus Stewart, the board did. And then Lee Clark, that was an interesting one as well. So we, again, new ownership had taken over. We'd had like Stan Turner, God, you remember him? He was kind of tasked with spending a lot of this money, and he bought some horrendous signings like David Unsworth when he was past his best, about 50 stone and couldn't move and stuff. But anyway, Lee Clark came in and he had a lot of money to spend, but we got on a bit of a ride really with Lee Clark, and we had like some Jordan Rhodes, young Jordan Rhodes in them days, Anthony Pilkington, a lot of others, but we kept missing out in the playoffs. We missed out against Millwall. The season after, it was heartbreak really. We probably deserved to go, but back in the day, Wembley being refurbished, we lost to Peterborough in the final at Old Trafford when the playoffs were there. And Lee Clark never kind of recovered mentally and emotionally for that, and he took us into next season again. We were in the playoff spots, and he would controversially moved aside. Simon Grayson, who were ex-Leeds manager, who everyone disliked, but Grayson got the look, Clark didn't, mate, and they ended up winning a ridiculous penalty shot. I think it was like 11-10 or something. Keeper scored a winning penalty, but a bit like what you said there, Lee Clark's passion and everything. I think honestly, he gave everything and more. I think sometimes Zelf was suffering because to lose two playoffs, like semi-final and a final in a row, and then kind of not to see it through the season after, because it was like March. Everyone were like, what are you doing, sacking like a guy who's got you in playoffs again and got you to... But in the end, it turned out to be the right decision. Yeah.
He actually, when he was his next job after yourselves, was actually Birmingham.
It was, yeah.
So, I think when he came through the door, at that point in time, everybody was like, oh my God, that's absolutely superb. And he just did, we had a board that didn't want to spend. We had a group of owners that had nothing. We've been through seasons where we'd had an owner who was in prison for money laundering and stuff like this. So, we were on the brink. And he did have times where, it was tough. It was very, very tough. And he made some good signings. Loan signings being that. And he did as much as he possibly could. But like I say, I'll never forget that last game of the season at Bolton. I thought we'd gone. When it was 2-0, I thought that's it, all over and done with. And then you just get that wow factor. And it's something that whenever you go through these situations and look at all the videos and stuff that are in circulation at the moment, that caddy situation, that passion that he showed at the end of the game, is something that we haven't seen again. Yeah. So, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because they're both, like you say, both managers really have done well at both clubs.
Yeah.
Bruce, arguably phenomenal at Birmingham. Took us into the Premier League, kept us in the Premier League, pulled off, for me, and in my time of watching the club, the best signing that we have ever seen at St. or in my time frame anyhow at St Andrews, in Christophe Dugarry. I mean, nobody would ever have thought that Dugarry would come to Birmingham. So for Brucey to pull that off was great. But again, unfortunately, it got to a level where he couldn't take us any further, so he moved on. And since then has gone on to manage other Midlands teams, which names I will not mention. Sadly then, we covered a little bit of it at the start, but it's a tough game for both of us. I'm looking at it in terms of the fact that with Huddersfield being behind Birmingham, a draw, I don't think is good enough for you.
No, we're down with a draw. We're down with a draw. I think we're down anyway, mate. I think we're down anyway.
I think it's well, it depends on, in honesty, it depends on the team that Birmingham turns out. Because if a team turns out like they did against Rotherham, and you come at us, which I think you will do, I think there's no doubting it, from the very, very outset, you're going to be on the up. Then you could win the game. You know, I'm not going to say that we're brilliant, because we're far from it. But it also plays into our favour, because I think Birmingham on the counter-attack, and when it's more open, are a lot better than they are when they've got to push themselves forwards and you know, a team is sitting back and kind of just holding themselves. And I don't think we'll see that on Saturday. I think we're actually going to see a very open game, possibility of lots of goals because of the situation that both clubs are in. If I'm completely honest, seeing what happened last weekend with yourselves, and the fact that when you'd shipped one goal, then you had to go for it, obviously, and you ended up shipping 4. That, I think, could be the downside. Is I don't think, and I'm going to say it being a Birmingham fan, but I don't think if you concede one goal, you're not going to concede anymore. I think it will be more goals in it, and because it will be so open, it will be a good game. But you know, who should we watch out for first of all, and what's your prediction?
Yeah, I'm really concerned. I've had a bit of a linked team, to be honest. I know someone who knows someone, and the information is pretty much spot on. And what I've kind of seen with is no Sorba Thomas there, which is a huge blow for us. Why isn't there? I don't know. It'll all probably come out, assuming it's accurate information, but it normally is. But he's been like our best player this season, mate. Anything good attacking wise, which has been very minimal, to be fair. But assists, corners, set pieces, that's what we're all about, really, in that as well. But yeah, honestly, mate, there's so little quality in that team, and that's why we're heading down. I think the big problem we've got is, well, it's not a problem, but say we beat you, I don't think we'll win. I just think it's a nailed-on draw this Saturday. I really do, and I don't think that's going to do. Well, we're down with that. You might be all right, but again, it's mad predicting Championship. But I think Wednesday and West Brom will be a draw as well. But the big thing for you is, and this is where I'm kind of thinking it doesn't really matter for us, because Norwich is the big one. When David Wagner got us into the playoffs, and ironically, I think it was at Birmingham when he did it, but if they get into the playoffs on Saturday, they'll play you last day. And he made 10 changes for our last game in the playoffs that season. We went up, and they were all breaking loose on that as well. Yeah, and I think we got absolutely battered that day. And it might have been at Bristol City, it might not have been you, but pretty much David Wagner would change his team. So that normally you'd look at that. I just think mentally Huddersfield are finished, mate. Last week, that's the 9th time we've lost by 4 goals or more, which is like a club record. I think 1932, that's happened before that I heard on a podcast today. So, but the mental fragility is horrendous, mate. I'd almost given it up the week before. We went to Preston. We were 1 up at half time. They were looked like they were out of sorts on the beach, and then they got an equaliser with a penalty with controversial 50 odd minutes, and then again, just like happened last week, there were 3 goals in the last 8 minutes. The guy got an hat-trick, and mentally, to come back from that, I don't know if you saw that Bristol City, that penalty that were given, that was an absolute shattering blow, 98th minute. But last week we're all
we were in the stadium. That was after Birmingham had played Coventry, and we're all in the stadium. We've just beat them 3-0, and we're thinking, this is great. And then we look at the scores like, oh God, no, we're still in the bottom 3, and I think that would have been a killer. But for them, that penalty, which I agree with you, was never a penalty.
That, innit? Yeah.
So we all say, don't we? We hate VAR, but actually, there are occasions when Birmingham have had the results off the back of no VAR would have been overturned, and the same for yourself with that.
I think last week though the fans have been pretty decent. I think, to be fair, but you're not fit to wear the shirts, echoing around the ground as we left, mate. There were, I think, when Swansea got the 4th, mate, I'd say. Well, there were probably about 18,000 in there at this point. You're probably left with 10. Everyone's finished with it, mate. And obviously it's not the plan. We've got Ipswich away last game, mate. So we ain't going to do anything on that. I think that's most of the sub fans were done. I think if you look at the bookies odds, obviously you're going to be cautious knowing you. But I think, if we both go, mate, what's both done for us? We were like you. We went to Rotherham and we drew. We were absolutely trash, mate. We had Sorba Thomas sent off. And then the manager were like, even though we half an hour to go, he just like, right, we'll take us point. And we were thinking, okay, we've got 10 men, but Rotherham were awful. And it's just like, and them extra 2 points. And last week, I was just hoping like the Steve Evans thing, thinking obviously we get a result, might do some good, and obviously did. And you sound like you weren't right good last week. And I think if we both go, that Rotherham away games are so big, we'll both look back on that. I think if we can't beat them and everyone else has, we deserve to go, don't we, really? But yeah, I think it's between you and Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah.
Your scoreline?
I think it's going to be 1-1, mate, and just no good for us. I'll give you a Wednesday score as well. West Brom, I think that'll be 1-1 as well. And I think last game, it's Sunday and it's Sheffield Wednesday, you and Norwich. So, yeah, and I think we'll be done on Saturday. But, yeah, it's not a good time for the season, is it? every season, yeah. Mid-table mediocrity, bring it on one day, mate. But
exactly.
Until now. Yeah.
My prediction, I just think, I mean, firstly, we've only won 3 games away from home this season. So the only ones very much against us going into an away game.
Yeah.
But I come back to this, you've got to beat us, and to beat us, you've got to come at us. And I think if that happens, we can score. And if we do score, we'll get more than one. So my prediction actually is I think it'll be 2-1. I think I'll say that, Birmingham take a 2-0 lead, and then late on in the game, Huddersfield pull one back, and it makes it interesting for the last 10, 15. And if that comes true, I'm going to be gutted because I haven't put money on it. But we'll see. We'll see come Saturday how it all works out. So, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thanks so much, mate. And nice to go back down memory lane. To be honest, enjoyed that.
Right, I really do wish you all the very best as a club, and and come Saturday, let's hope the results can go in favour of both clubs, and we'll just see whether we can have one of those freaky last games of the season.
Lee Clark all over again. Yeah,
exactly. But if not, and if we end up both in the same league next season, we look forward to that. And if not, then either one of us, let's get us back up and running and back in the leagues where we should be following season. So
nice one. Cheers,
Craig.
Craig.
Thank you very much indeed. Sign off by saying keep right on, and on Saturday you lot have the worst game of the season. I know you've had some bad ones.
Do not need to wish that, mate. We will.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye-bye.